Well, hello everyone, good evening and welcome back to the Masters Championship. Tonight it is the track that was supposed to happen last week. It is Austria. Due to the poor attendance last week, we decided just to go for a different mini championship just to see what the guys would, just to give the guys that were turning up actually racing. But we do have 18 drivers tonight, so it's an absolutely fantastic turnout, and to help me talk you through it is the one and only Graham Chappell.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you, Daniel?
I'm not too bad, Graham, I'm not too bad. I'll try to give you the wee Unai Emery quote, good evening.
I love it.
But Graham, we were actually saying before qualifying started that it's going to be a close quali, and you were very surprised by the lap time whenever I said for Kevin a 2.6. Beastas has done a 2.8, so he's actually not that far off. So Beastas, like, we were thinking Kevin's going to run away with this. Beastas could be a close contender.
And you got to put Casper in that conversation as well. He's just getting a lap here now, but I just hear 2.6, and it's just, I know the cars have got quicker over the years, but like it's hard to believe that it's almost a sub 60-second lap, depending, just, compared to F1 2016 where you'd be running, I don't know, like 106s and that kind of thing, but 102 is just such a short time, so to get in and around that is just nuts to me, and especially when you're dipping under that three range. Like 103 was always a sweaty lap time around here, like even the past few games, but just getting into the twos is just something else entirely.
Yeah, it's ridiculous how much F1's evolved over the years and how much quicker the cars are going, but I'm just keeping on board with Beastas' teammate Matter, as he's pretty much going to be coming across the line for his first time lap. It looked pretty neat. I think he's probably going to be a bit more committed throughout the lap. What's he going to do as a banker? He starts off as a 3.4, so puts him into P9, which is, it's not too bad of a banker. He definitely will be able to improve, because this track will, because it's a short lap, it'll probably evolve quite a lot, so you'll see a lot of lap times towards the end of the session getting quicker and quicker, and Kelsper crossed the line with a 2.7, so there you go. That's going to be that's a banker. That's a banker, Graham. Banker.
Bank. It is nuts to me that they can whip those out. But qualifying is so important here, because you're basically, with 3 DRS zones around here, you're basically fighting for track position at all times, but you're going to be hard pressed to actually overtake unless you have a significant better run, or a mistake is made, or your pit stops are the best chance you're going to get to overtake someone. So track position is so important, which means qualifying here is super important. And you're saying about the track, because it's so short and because you're more likely using softs and mediums, most people, I'd say, and you should really try and do 3 or 4 runs. I would like to leave a set of tyres spare, but you're looking at 15 plus drivers doing 3+ runs at the very least, so the track's naturally going to get better over time as well. Yeah,
like as you were saying there about the 3-time runs, I'm assuming most of these guys, well, I see a few of them have actually went for a balanced sort of like tyre selection. If it was me and you, we probably would have went for a softer, because as you say, it's just probably best to get as much soft runs as you can. But I'm just watching Dobby here, as people know Dobby used to race in TMC before. He has come back, and I think at the minute he's going to be a reserve, because we do have seats full, but there's a few drivers couldn't turn up, and Connor Keane as well has also made a return. So there's 2 old TMC drivers have come back, and let's see if they still have the pace as what they did before they left.
Dobby's on a flying lap at the moment, I believe. Just coming into the last 2 corners, bit of traffic in front. But to your point with the tyres, because I normally go balance myself, but this is one of the few tracks where you can't really get away with it, and you want to get as many runs as you can, and Dobby goes a P3 with it, 102.9.
It's a very good lap from Dobby. Well, it looks like he still has the paces what he had before he left anyway, but because it's such a short track, Graham, there's going to be towards the end of the session there's going to be a lot of congestion into that last sector in particular.
Very much so. Beast is just coming around the last corner. He's actually up on his time when I hopped on board with him, see if he can get an improvement, but you're going to leave yourself time, as 748, couple hundreds improvement there. He goes off to pushing the pole, but yeah, a track like this, I would always leave a little bit more time on the table just to get out there, and just in case whether it be you mess up turn 1, you invalidate, or you cook up turn 3, I would go out just a little bit earlier just to try and secure that lap, because A, it covers yourself in case you do make a mistake, and B, obviously it's 18 drivers, come around high speed as well. It's not like a situation where it's like the Belgian Grand Prix where you're backed up into that chicane in the last the last two corners, but it's high paced stuff. You need to be on it quickly because otherwise you're losing. You take 100 plus miles basically through the final turn, and you're approaching that speed. You need to have a good run on it, and stacked up behind other cars is not going to help your cause in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it definitely isn't. And I'm just watching Matt coming across the line here now. The championship leader puts in a 2.9, so he puts himself up in the P4. Scuba he has been saying he is running no ABS, so he might be a wee bit off the pace, but to be fair, with a 3 flat on a no ABS, him not really doing it as much, it's a pretty decent time. And Yarham as well with a 2.8, that's a fantastic lap from Yarham, although we do know he's prone to getting a lot of penalties, so if he can cut that out from going from qualifying pace anyway, it looks like if he cuts out the penalties, he might actually be up there challenging for a podium tonight if he can keep the penalties away.
He's threatened a few times with his pace, but his penalties took him out of the equation. And Canada was a good example of that, where he was very much on it, almost contending with the likes of Beast and such up front. He was actually, I think he was quicker than Beast, wasn't he, for a good chunk of that race. As Connor goes into fourth there with a 2.9, you can see it's very, very tight across the field. Like you were saying with Scuba, 3 flat. You know, there's 3 drivers that are in the 3 flats. You need to keep Adam there as well, and 3 and 9s, 2 9s. And it's just very, very tight. Track position will be so important here to get this done.
It definitely is, and if you look at the lap time between Kieran Trapp, Jono and Stevie G, it's only 0.03 of a second covering them 3 down in 12th, 13th and 14th, so it just shows you tiny margins, Graham, will jump you up a few positions, as we've been talking about.
Yeah, huge.
But I'm just watching Captain Chubbs here as well. There's a few drivers have not been really fond of this track, but I think Chubbs has been one of them. He's been actually saying, can someone put him into a wall? But to be fair, he's currently a 10th and a half up on his time, so you never know if Chubbs actually nails this last sector. He actually could be on for maybe a 3-2. We'll see what he has. He has a car in front of him. That is Connor Keena, who's just coming into the pits. Might have held him up just a wee tiny bit, but that's just the nature of the corner. But Chubbs, will see how he gets on through the last corner. He took it pretty well, and he comes across the line to do a 3.3, so he improved by just over a 10th and a half.
You were saying earlier with Scuba learn no ABS. This is, if you ever want to learn no assist or to remove an assist and try it out, you just stick up time trial and go to this track. It's got a good balance of corners and traction zones and that kind of thing to really practice on. Italy is another good one. Well, depending how you feel about ABS, but this is generally a good track to get the training wheels off for learning something new. And I think Scuba at this track should be able to settle in quite nicely to doing that on no ABS. He's just going to start his next flying lap now.
Yeah, I'm just watching his teammate Alonso coming around the last couple of corners. Very high speed section of the track in 7th gear. In previous games, as me and Graham were saying, you would have been taking out in 5th. You're absolutely just flowing it in 7th. And Alonso comes across the line, do a 2.8. Just as me and Graham have been saying, like, just look at how close it is. Like, literally 2 and a bit tenths covering the top 7. That's mental. I know it's a short track, but it's still crazy for a short track. And I'm just riding on board with Alonso's teammate Scuba, who is currently just over half a tenth up through the first sector, so we'll see how he gets on coming down into turn 4. Locks up just a wee bit, but I don't think he's going to lose too much time from it. He gets good traction off the corner. See how he takes through the fast left-hander. I do not particularly like this corner, but the best way to do it is to try and run as far to the curb as you can. This one here is a bit tricky as well. It's exceeding that curb that he's at now will just invalidate your lap time, but he takes it pretty well, and I think he is up through the middle sector, as there's a couple of cars in the final sector, but they're all well out of the way. So we'll see how Scuba gets on now coming into the last corner. Takes it pretty well, a bit tentative. He kept the curb just a wee bit as he comes across the line, and it's a 2.7 as well. That's a fantastic lap from Scuba on no ABS. Like, just look at that, Graham. Just look at that, man.
Very good. And Dobby, as you're talking about Scuba's lap, Dobby went up to P2 with another 2.7 there, just a few thousands off of B-Stats there. Just watching Kevin now, he's one of the few drivers not to say a valid lap time. He's got a valid one going at the moment, as he takes just under 5 minutes to go. So we're expecting Kevin to be pretty high up here, so he's left it late to get himself a valid lap on the board. So this is important to nail. I think he's just got to get something in, and then can get a better lap perhaps if he has the time at the end of the session.
Yeah, I was just watching Kieran Trapp as well. He put himself up in the P13 with a 3.1. Like, 3.1's a very quick time, but that's just, it's kind of disheartening sometimes when you put in a very good lap and you're just seeing that it's only good enough for P13. But just B-Stats puts a 2.6. Kevin actually backed off her through coming up to the line there, so maybe Kevin didn't think that he was going to get pole position, so he decided let's just do a lap outside the top 10 and then go for it again. There's a bit of a strange strategy, but he did back off, so I don't know what Kevin's thinking was behind there. But yeah, as I was saying, like Kieran Trapp, it was a pretty decent lap from him, and I think he can maybe improve just a wee bit more. But like, I know for drivers, for me and you, Graham, like we're not particularly the quickest, but when we put a very good lap in and we see it's only good enough for 12th or 13th, like it's kind of disheartening sometimes, isn't it?
For sure, especially when you just lay it all out there, and it's high speed stuff, it's frantic stuff, and you feel like you've nailed it, and it's like, oh, what more can I do? But it's a very competitive. Like I have to say, looking at it's such a competitive field, and you just have to hope that maybe in the race, either you can do something different with the strategy, you can maybe outsmart them, you can maybe a safety car might work in your favour, you can try and limit on the penalties you're getting. When you're lacking a bit of speed in relative comparison to the others, you just have to hope elsewhere that things can kind of break your way and just stick with it, because if we dishearten them, but look, the points aren't handed out. Well, that's is incorrect. There's like 2 points handed out for how many points are handed out for pole position, Dan?
1 point. One point.
So 1 point handed out for pole, but the majority of the points are handed out for the race itself. So look, where you start does not necessarily mean where you finish, but it can be disheartening at times, for sure.
That is true, and Stevie G actually pumped himself from P10 into P7 with a 2.8. That's a fantastic lap from Stevie G. Absolutely fantastic.
I was just looking at Kevin. He's not going to be able to. I don't think he's going to. It's going to be very tight for him to get back out. He ran out of fuel on his in lap, so he's only kind of just getting in now. He's just being wheeled in now. So ideally, we're going to see a few people. I think Yarm's going to be our first driver here. He's kind of quite early.
I think
he's out there as well.
I actually think. Yeah, as you were saying, Yarham, sorry to actually interrupt you. I didn't actually see Yarham on the track. I was too busy actually watching Beastas, as we know, he's usually one of the first ones to come out for his final flying run, just to try and avoid any traffic. But yeah, Yarham is on track. And Graham, if you want, you can talk us through the lap.
Heavy braking zone heading up to turn 3. Turn 1 and 2, trying to take a wide entry. Turn 1 rather, take a wide entry, trying to swing in. Try and use as much of the outside as you can without obviously exceeding it. Turn 3, heavy braking zone. You just want to try and keep it steady on the exit, and then down then towards turn 4. I want to keep it nice and tight to the right hand side here and try and cut back in to minimise the distance covered. And sweeping in then, turn number 6. Gets himself the cross there. Trying to sweep in as much as you can, trying to maintain as much of that high speed as possible. Then heading up towards the make or break kind of corners, turn 9 and 10. He's actually backing off. I think he's going to go for another run possibly, but he's backed out of this one anyways, as Yarham.
That is unfortunate for Yarham, yeah, but actually to be fair, Yarham's fuel light is on red, so I don't actually know if he'll have actually enough fuel to get around. I'm just trying to see which actual driver is first to start a lap.
Beast will be the first one. He came out just in front of Yarham and coming out the pits, as you're literally talking about him being the first first to do it, but he is the first one going.
But Graham, look at the queue of cars coming down to turn 4. Look at the cars.
All those cars will want to try and separate themselves and get track position, and then you got some cars, like Beast, and I think, not Chubbs, but Kieran Traffin and such are on flying laps. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they get on, and see Yarm getting off the track there. Beast was up on his time, may have been distracted by that car in front, but it's going to be carnage as they head up towards Sector 3. Racing Point versus Merck. Dooley gets out of the way. He's a bit more lost a bit of time, has Beast about half a tenth, but he's still up, and he backs out of the lap.
He backs out of the lap, is right. But it's great for us, to show on the way there's no time left, but a lot of these guys are backing off, so this is obviously just a glitch with the game. I actually wonder how much time they actually have left to cross the line.
Yeah, it seems strange. I think Kieran Chop will be he's actually playing to the pits. He was going to be our first across Valentine, and that I believe will go to Calsper instead.
Yes, it will. That was actually
always invalidated just on the exit of turn 9. What was it going to be? Is it 2.704? And he definitely would have lost a bit of time in there as well. So it's a 2.6 for Calsper, but just got the entry wrong. And Chubbs has just dropped on the exit of turn number 2, and Matters dropped it as well. We had the last turn.
Matt Tybus across the lines at 2.6 and goes into pole position from Matt Tybus. What a lap. The championship leader, and look at the keeper, the teammate as well. The two Mercedes have just pulled the lap completely out of nowhere, and Adam has backed off as well. It's a fantastic lap from Matt and the keeper. I think Gamer Packer was also involved in this lap. He's also got a racing point behind him, which
Beast
is
coming again. Beast is coming again, and he looks like he's up big time, trying to interrupt that, but he's going to be coming massively. This could be 2.5.
Oh, it's a
It's
2.6.
just shy. A 2.601, but he does take provisional pole position.
Beastas takes pole position. I'm very surprised he went for another lap on them tyres, but he did, and there was a few changes in the midfield. I couldn't actually catch half of them, but Scuba was actually P4, went down to P6, saying fantastic lap from the two Mercedes guys. They were both down, I think, 10th and 11th, and they pumped themselves into 2nd and 4th, so that's a fantastic showing from them guys, as they're not particularly replicating what the Mercedes do in real life, but they're getting there. They're improving slowly but surely.
Slowly but surely. So does Beast ahead of Matt in second by just under 300 per second, and Casper third, to keep a fourth, Dobby fifth, Scuba sixth, Yarm seventh, Alonso eighth, Stevie G ninth, Conor Keane 10th. It's just 3 tenths separate the top 10, and a handy cut off there. Top 10 in the twos, everyone else below that in the threes. Adam in 11th. Kevin couldn't get it together. Only the one flying lap for him in the end, I believe. Certainly couldn't find himself into the twos. He's in 12th. Interesting choices in terms of strategy. Merck 13th, John 14th, Kieran Chap 15th, Chubbs 16th, Matter 17th, and Paco in 18th place. Less than a second separating the entire field there.
Yeah, and Matter actually went out on his final run on a set of medium tyres, so I think he was trying to do something different, but he invalidated, so it just didn't work out for him. But Graham, what's the sort of strategy? You would say it's sort of soft mediums around here, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, I'm trying. I did a race not too long ago around here, and I'm fairly certain that was the strategy. But the difference between the soft, it's not too much in difference between the two. You're not taking your mediums that much longer than you are a set of the softs, so it's not too different, to be fair. So I wonder if maybe 11th or 12th might do softs. I think Kevin should do mediums. I think he's in the prime position to do something different there, and since qualifying didn't work out, I think it's a great opportunity for him to actually try something significantly different. Yeah,
I think, well, we know Kevin sometimes, as we have said before, we all know he's a qualifying merchant, but we will see now, as it's going to be very interesting. If I was most of the guys outside the top 10, I would probably go on a set of mediums. Although, to be fair, towards the end of the race, the lap time between the softs and mediums probably won't be that much different. So I don't know if you'll actually gain that much, but just to go for something different, just you never know, a safety car comes out or something like that. We'll just have to wait and see. But it looks bright blue skies, Graham, so it looks like we're going to have pretty much the best conditions for these guys, and let's hope we get them a lot of overtaking.
Hopefully, should be plenty close action anyways. Now let's have a look at the tyres. So, yeah. Wow, that is somewhat surprising actually. Everyone outside the top 10 taking mediums. I thought maybe someone might go softs, but they're all on mediums, and that is somewhat of a surprise.
That is very...
Oh dear, Matt's dropped on the formation lap. Oh, Matt. Oh,
oh god, we were saying about his qualifying lap, and then he goes and spins it into turn 1 in the formation lap. Jesus Christ.
The shot looking down that big straight, you just see this Mercedes spiral off into the barrier. Just brilliant stuff. Congratulations, Matt. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting though, because this first lap is going to be hopefully for me and you, everybody gets away cleanly, but we know with the nature of this track, turn 1 and in particular turn 3, the hairpin, is there's going to be maybe a dive bomb or two, so I'm expecting maybe 1 or 2 guys to maybe lose a wing or spin, but let's hope for me and your sake that everybody gets through cleanly and everybody has their front wing intact. But Graham, before the guys actually get around to go sit on the grid, who are you going to go for a win?
I will go for Bisas to win on track, but perhaps Matt to win on penalties. Calsper second, Beast third. Let's see.
That's a bold prediction, Graham, because we know Matt likes a load of penalties too, though.
He does. I have faith in my young apprentice that he's gotten better with track limits.
Yeah, Graham's been teaching them all the tricks, so we'll just have to wait.
He'll definitely reject that. Drive me hardest.
We'll just have to wait and see, but everybody is lining up. For me, I'm going to say Calsper will probably win, because Calsper's very, very consistent, and I'm going to go Beastas second, and I think with penalties, I think the keeper will get third and Matt will get fourth, but we do have 3, 4, we have 5 red lights, as engines still haven't loaded up yet, so it's just a glitch with the game, as everybody is pretty much revving the engines and they're all ready to go, and it looks like Beastas gets a pretty good start, but for Calsper behind gets an absolute almighty start, and he's currently overtaken Matt into turn 1. Matt has had to cut the corner to avoid an incident, but it looks like some guys... Oh, there's a car in the background. I think that's Connor Keena has spun, but I think everybody else has got away pretty cleanly. Anything at the back, Graham?
Oh, clean so far. It looks like... Oh, no, never mind, there's wings flying. I think that's a Ferrari wing, I thought. Perhaps. I think that was Yarm. I think is, yes, Yarm's front wing gone. Heading down towards turn 3. I saw a bunch of wings scattering around, but trying to get through then. Everyone else, Matter and Chubbs side by side. Chubbs moving up to P13 there. Ooh, big moment for Matter. He catches it, but loses another position to Jono.
Yeah, and he's got Kieran Trapp just right behind him as well. But Connor Keena did spin into turn 1. Thankfully, he doesn't have any wing damage, and his 3.5 seconds behind on a set of softs. So hopefully, Connor Keena can actually get himself to the back of the pack and maybe perform some overtaking. But Beastas does lead Calsper in second, so this is probably going to be a big fight between these two at the front. Stevie G has come into the pit, so it was Stevie G that must have been the one that lost his front wing at the start. He's coming in to replace it, and Adam Mako, it's just everybody else.
Big move for Adam Mako coming out of the last corner. And
Chubbs has pretty much just made the move into turn 1, so it was Stevie G that lost his front wing. But I was just watching the gap between Connor Keena and Kieran Trapp. Connor Keena has pulled that gap from 4 seconds down to 2 seconds in 1 lap, so Connor Keena has got pretty good pace on these soft tyres, but everybody else is pretty much within DRS of each other, apart from Alonso and Merck is just outside the DRS. So we have effectively two trains here, Graham.
Basically, it was my mistake. I was Stevie G, not Yarm, who lost that front wing there. But it's funny, even watching the start, like you could see who had the soft and who had the medium phase. There's a big gap between the end of the soft and the beginning of the medium run. It was just funny to see. But it's basically now for the guys on mediums, how close can they stick with the guys on softs? Can they keep it in DRS? If they can they stay there? And if they can stay there or stay relatively close, then the second part of this race should really open up to them. But it's going to be a long stint on those mediums. It's going to be looking about lap 19 to 20 or so to get softs to the end. It's going to be interesting to see who can stick with it, basically. As Scuba looking up to keep it here.
Yeah, so Scuba sets the fastest lap of the race, so it's, to be fair, in the second lap he's pumped in a 6 flat, which is an absolutely fantastic lap, but he's wiggling a wee bit on my screen. Maybe that's just to do with the connection, but he was looking for a move up the inside to keep it, just wasn't close enough to make the move, as it's going to be pretty much a big DRS train. You're going to need almighty straight line speed to get past someone here, as Connor Keane has passed Kieran Trapp on the background, the two teammates. Don't think Kieran Trapp would. He actually was trying to fight it a wee bit. Connor Keane just went straight around the outside, but nobody else is really close enough to make a move. Well, Chubbs is close enough behind Kevin, but I don't think he's not going to be able to make the move. So yeah, Merck's got, maybe has Merck got from wing damage, because it's only no, he doesn't have from wing damage, so Merck just genuinely just doesn't have the pace around here, because he's 2.2 seconds behind Alonso, or maybe that's just the medium tires just haven't shot up yet.
Could just be the mediums. He could also have down to his visual. That's definitely a possibility as well. But I'd say that's given the fact he's the first in the medium runs, I'd put it down to that at least. Scuba is desperate to get by here. He's basically used all of his ERS. He's going to try this time to get down the inside of Tequiba heading into turn 1. Backs out of it. Perhaps wanting to have another go.
Tequiba's one wide.
Very wide. And he should be able to get the run this time. Much better exit there for Scuba, and he'll move by Tequiba then into P4. But has used everything basically to do it. And he certainly won't be out of the woods yet, as Kevin and Merck swapping places there. That's for P9.
So we'll see.
We'll find out, yeah.
We'll find out pretty much to see if Merck has just genuinely slow, and if Kevin can actually start to pull these guys along. So we'll keep a very close eye on that gap. It's currently 3 seconds at the end of, pretty much at the start of sector 1, so on lap 4, so we'll just keep a close eye on that the next couple of laps. But the top 8 are still covered by, I would say, I haven't even put the leaders up, but I would say that's by 4 seconds, which is still pretty close after 4 laps, and nobody's really close enough to make a move. And behind, there's nobody else really close either. So at the minute, Graham, it's just going to be one big DRS train, and I think this is going to come down to who gets an undercut first, or who gets an overcut as Johan picks up the first penalty.
Yeah, going to be seeing plenty of those, you reckon, today. Be interesting to see who bites when, and loads of penalties coming in around around 5. So if you're kind of further down the field, as Kieran chops into the pits, there's some damage, not sure, or maybe he's going to retire. Be interested to see if you're kind of in the pack. If you're the likes of Paco and the such, you expect to move up. Be interested to see who's going to be keeping their wheels in between the lines, because it will determine if quite a few positions come at the end of the race.
Yeah, it will indeed, and it'll also depend as well on pit entries as well, because we need to make sure people take that right as well. If someone takes it illegally, they could be seeing themselves to the penalty, so we'll be keeping very close eye on that towards the pit stop phase, which will not be for quite a while yet. So we'll just
laps or so at least on these softs.
Yeah, so we'll just keep a close eye on it. Depends. Yeah, it depends if anybody's any damage either. But Beastars still keeping the gap at the front. Kalsper's got quite a lot more ERS, and Matt Tybus as well, to prefer. We know he likes to burn his ERS, but he's still got 50% after 5 laps. So Matt's just keeping it very conservative and just following in the DRS. Scuba is starting to build his up just a bit, as he's in Matt's DRS now, but it's only 25%. So out of the front 6, maybe front 7, he's got the lowest by quite a big amount.
Flag somewhere. I think that's a matter. He's also just hanging on to that DRS range as well. That's the thing. He's really how's recovery here, and just keeping it in general. In fact, there's 3 DRS zones. As Matt will get out in a moment. He's going to tire here in a sec, but really helps with those 3 DRS zones to kind of stick with the car in front. And there is your first retirement of the afternoon. It's a good chance for Scuba to save DRS. He's also got to be kept not to drop out of DRS range. He actually did hit the second, but he was in the window of the detection point. So he did stick within that DRS range and he's stabilised, but good chance to save DRS when there's so many DRS zones around you.
Yeah, and I'm just keeping a close eye on that gap between Kevin, so it must be the mediums are just not shooting up just yet, because he's currently 4 tenths off what we were looking at 2 laps ago. So it shows he does have the pace, but it's just the mediums just aren't giving him the actual grip that he needs to start to pull the gap in. And to prefer, the 2 McLarens at the minute in P4 and P8 are doing a fantastic job, as Kevin and Conor Keena both pick up penalties. Jono's also got 1 and Yarham's got 1, as the keeper goes very wide, and Dobby's going to make this move pretty easy. Well, it is turn 2, but we're going to pretty much... It's turn 2, which it shouldn't even really be, because it's not really much of a turn, but they're up in the turn 3 and Dobby's well clear. But the gap between Dobby and Scuba is 1.5 seconds, so Scuba doesn't really have much of a threat behind, and he's just focusing on Matt in front.
Yeah, speaking of, I was actually watching that coming out of turn 1, and he got a much better run than Matt, but just didn't have the straight line speed to try and make anything do. Again, dipping back under to 10%, he was under 10% ERS again there, so he was trying to spend it. Now, probably worth it in this case, because now he's got the gap he needs. Now that top 4 can begin. If Dobby can't gap back in within that DRS range quickly, top 4 begin to pull away as they pull each other, basically with those 3 DRS zones. It looks like Dobby's very close. He's just snuck back in. It's going to be very tight. Hugely important to not fly out of this range, and he has in fact got back within DRS just in the nick of time there. Back within as you were basically just under 6 tenths behind the pack in front.
Yeah, this is going to be a very close race. I think this top 6 is going to this is going to come down to who picks up the most penalties. Whoever picks up the least penalties. Whoever picks up the least penalties will win this race, because it's just so close between them, as Alonso has passed Johan.
Sector 1. It was sun was beaming not too long ago, and it's very dark in Sector 1.
Oh, Graham, don't tell us that's going to be rain, please.
Yarham's going to try and go for a move back on Alonso here, using the DRS.
Oh, that's good. It's a good move.
Puts the car in the right spot, and Yarham back into P7 there. It was so bright not a few laps ago, and it's definitely clouding over. So really interested to see what happens. I think it's with the weather here. Like if we were dealing with such an eventuality, I would think you'd have to take track position over the right strategy in this case. This is why an indication perhaps maybe everyone went mediums if the weather is going to be changing here, but it is very, very overcast very quickly as well, and there's a lot of time to go, so who knows what could be in store.
Who knows as well, and because the track temperature looks like it is lowering just quite a bit, the mediums are starting to come into play just a tiny bit. I'm not sure if that's what it actually is, if the harder tire takes a lower temperature, or maybe it's vice versa. I'm not 100% sure, but Paco has just made the move on Jono tried to come back, but he's got DRS. Paco also has DRS, so I don't know if Jono's going to be able to make a move into turn 3. We'll just watch it. I think Paco's going to be pretty much safe He is indeed, and he's also got Conor Keena, who did spin at the start, has caught up to the back of these guys and is on the faster tyre, so he should be making use of this. As you can see him now just underneath that Racing Point rear wing. Is he going to make the move down the inside? Should have the superior grip. He's going to go for it. I don't think John is going to fight it too much. And Conor Keena with a beautiful move down into turn 4 and up in the 14th place, chasing down Paco.
Here's the thing that I'm looking at as well, is that when Kieran Chap came into the pits, he changed his wing. He put on soft compound tyres, and he hasn't retired from the race, which would incline me to think that we're going to be seeing rain soon enough. Because otherwise, why wouldn't he put on another set of mediums or maybe a set of hards? Put softs as well. Then they will go a good chunk, obviously 15 or so laps, but you will have to make another stop. So now, would you rather just do 2 softs and instead of 1 set of hards? As Calsper's going for the move on, Beastlass heading up towards turn 3, down the inside. And Adam, I think, is off the track. He's had a spin coming out of turn number 1, and Calsper's got the move done. The VSC is deployed.
So Beastlass couldn't even try and make the move back. I just literally caught that just on the apex of turn 3. Tried to get up there very quickly, and Calsper did make a fantastic move, so he just bided his time. As you can see, 75% DRS. He was pretty much just waiting to strike at the right time, and he did. But it is getting, as Graham was saying, it's getting very, very cloudy, and I hope for our sake, Graham, that we don't see rain, because this could make it pretty much very hard for guys to overtake. But I hope it stays dry, but you just never know. But hey, if we got a safety car now, this will close the pack up and probably make it a fantastic second half of the race. Although if a safety car came out now, the guys in the mediums would surely have to stay out.
Yes, more than likely. Matt's into the pits.
Matt is in the pits, so Matt is going for a very early stop. This has to be a set of hards. There's no way then mediums can go 26 laps.
There is softs, so that I think we are going to see some rain at some stage too. Conke's got trying to penalty for speeding under the VSC as we're a green flag racing once again, and Beastlass come back at Calsper but can't get close enough to make a move into turn 1. But DRS will be immediately re-enabled. It's not like a safety car where it off for 2 laps. But Calsper's got great traction, just zipped away out of turn 3.
And he's on a wheel as well, Graham. We must need that setup.
Settings. Wheel settings. And Adam is out. He's retired into the pits.
Yeah, so I don't think we're going to see a safety car. So yes, as you were saying about Matt, soft tyres, that probably is going to be a clear indication that it is going to be rain.
That's a strange one, because he's banking on the fact that everyone else in front is going to, on the softs of these, is going to pitch. So we must be expecting this rain in the lap in the time that perhaps you'd be extending these softs a little longer than you would want to take them. Because otherwise, why would you sacrifice that much track position? Because if the rain were to come now, everyone would basically pit, and that puts him in P14, essentially, or give or take. He's lost all that track position, so has to think that he's just got an early jump on getting the tyres on, and then say that the reverse of that the fact that the guys at the front are going to try and take them a bit longer than they should be going. That's the only thing I can think of as why because there's no wing change, of course, as he zips by Jono here for P11. That's the only thing that comes to mind with that, because otherwise it's a very strange one. It's a very poor exit as well, coming out of turn 3 as well.
Yeah, and I was just watching Conor Keena. He also came into the pits and has also bolted on another set of, he was doing his drive-through. Actually, that's my bad. I forgot he was doing his drive-through. I thought he was actually just coming out of the pits, but I seen he was still in a 11 lap old soft tyres. So Matt has got the freshest tyres in the field. But as you were saying, Graham, it's very hard as well to know when the actual weather's going to come in this game, because sometimes it'll say the last tile, but it'll come literally about lap 6. You just don't know. It's just literally going to be in the hands of Codemasters for Matt, basically, to see when this actually comes.
Well, they'll have a bit more information, a bit more accurate information once they get the race started. Because Jeff is usually fairly, he's going for fastest lap here, by the way, 5.5. Because Jeff is usually up to snuff when it comes to these things in the race. And beforehand, you'd be betting either way, but once you get into the race, you have a lot more information to make a bit more of an informed decision. This is the one Matt's made. Very interesting one, given that he is leading the title, is he not? To go here, but if it works out, he's got a massive undercut on everyone in front. So I think that's what the hope is that people either take their tyres too long and get punctures, or they take them too long, and Matt's able to make that time back just on wear. Look, he's only 11 seconds behind, just under 12 seconds behind the leader. So the time he's gaining is there, but it's whether everyone will be coming in to mix up at the same time with the rain comes, or if they'll come in out of necessity, or they'll lose all that time. Oh, there it is. There's the first drops.
Oh, he may have messed this up. I was going to actually say if this had came around about lap 20, he'd have been absolutely laughing because he would have had nearly a pit stop ahead of everybody. But this is pretty much going to compromise Matt now. These guys in the mediums, it's going to help them to some extent, because you can see Kevin is starting to actually close the gap as Dobby makes the move up Scuba. A bit of contact between two of them. Scuba spins
to keep the contact from behind. Put the Scuba around just to keep it going to the back of him. This might work out perfectly for Matt, because of course, as we know, like, when the rain arriving is one thing, but as Merc gets backed by Kevin there, timely switch. It's one thing when the rain starts, but when the actual time comes to put on those tires, could be another thing entirely. And old tires, old softs, because we're close to the pit stop range in normal conditions for these softs. So old softs on a wet track is really bad. So even in these conditions, Matt is going to be gaining time. So whether he gains enough time, you see he's already back on the back of this Speedsack gets a 2-second penalty. That could be big. Matt going by Captain Chubbs then into P9. This is prime time for Matt. He has to hope that it takes as long as possible. And of course the lap is so short here. It's not like a lap in Belgium where it takes ages to get around. The laps are so short. This might end up working because everyone now is going to look, and this is, imagine what the game plan was. Everyone's going to look to extend now, because why on earth would you want to pit when the crossover point is going to be coming? So this is make or break for Matt's race right here.
It is indeed, and I was just watching Matt and Scuba, and I just seen Chubbs in the background. The wiggle he got on there, how he saved that, is beyond me. But Matt makes the move up inside of Scuba, and Gamer Paco makes the move up inside of Chubbs. Chubbs just had an absolute shocking exit out of turn 1. There is a Williams that is... Oh, there's Kieran Trappers around. He's going to go into the pits. He smashed his front wing. This is probably going to be for a set of intermediates, because there's no real reason why he should go for a set of softs. But Beastas has got a penalty, so it's going to compromise him. Calsper's pretty much in good position at the minute, but the lap times aren't really too well. Actually, we say that Dobby's 4 seconds slower in the second sector than what he was doing.
Kevin's off coming out of turn 5. Not sure, Matt was very close, so I'm not sure if there was any contact there, but yeah, Kevin is around. Not sure if he's got damage. Yes, he has on the right hand side, so he's made contact into one. Everyone's going into the pits. DRS is now disabled. Yeah,
Matt's going to get held in the pits here because his teammate, and so Scuba's also going to get held in the pits because of a lot.
Oh, Calsper sped into the pit lane. That's a 5-second penalty.
Oh, I'm just looking at the guys getting into the pits. The understeer them boys are getting is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not nice.
As Jorham has passed his teammates, so it looks like Jorham's going to get first dibs on fresh tires. As Kevin actually retires, I don't know why he does this. It's very, very strange.
Very easily.
He does. We have a very easy, because there's still plenty of the race still to go. And he could easily, as Kieran Top went for a set of inters, so I was actually going to say this might help Kieran Top, but sure, he's replaced his front wing. Yeah, if a safety car comes out now, it'll help him, but I think everybody's pretty much going to come out. Stayman, but actually Scuba hasn't. Scuba's lost out, I think, a few positions because of getting held up in the pits.
Well, mostly he's lost most of his place because obviously he would have been spun around. But big winners out of that look like to be Merc on track. Alonso looking decent here as well. Dobby had just got off to third beforehand. Big winner, actually, I would say, is B-Stats, if anything else. He just needs to try and stick within a few seconds, because Casper's got that penalty for speeding into the pits. But the problem is, we saw in Canada, when things came in the wet, it just, Casper just pulled away massively. So, over half the race to do in the wet. Gaps have been spread a bit already, but it's still Austria, it's still close enough. And if anything, we could see a bit more racing in the wet than one might expect, because again, skill gap comes into play a bit more here in the wet, and possibly better exits coming out of turn 1 and turn 3 and such might give people opportunities to have an overtake down in towards a turn 3 and turn 4 respectively.
Yeah, this is pretty much going to be prime position for the pod users now to gain up a lot of time. Me and Graham just don't like to say it, but we know it's going to be pod OP this time now. But as you can kind of see that Dobby's closing a wee bit of time on Calsper and Beastas, as that is someone has spun round, and I think that's Yarhammer, Stevie G.
In intermediate conditions, like it's not too bad, but when full wets come along, it's a little bit of a different story. Now we'll see how heavy it gets, but it is interesting for the time being. If anything, I'd say Dan the keeper is putting some strong pressure on Dobby here for P3.
Yeah, he is indeed. I was watching Captain Chubbs as well. He half spun it out of turn 3, just couldn't get the traction down, and Scuba and Gamer Paco managed to just get better traction and overtake him, and there are 3.7 seconds behind Matt. It's going to be very tough for them to close that, because I know Matt's been pretty much has had fantastic pace so far this race. It's just a shame that he pitted a bit early, but maybe that was just a strategic call for him. But he has lost out, but he's started to close the gap just a wee bit. Merck has gained a lot from this, so that's just a strategic masterclass so far from Merck. And Alonso still there with the keeper, but he's just not close enough, and the keeper is pretty much, that's the closest battle on track at the minute, the keeper and Dobby for the final spot in the podium.
Pretty much so. I say that was about 2 laps or so from working for Matt. Rain came down very quickly, that was like about 2 laps or so it took between the rain coming and the rain, DRS being disabled. It was very quick for Austria standards, so I think Matt was unlucky in that regard. Needed a few more laps for that to really work. He was closing, the gap was coming down, but sadly that gamble did not pay off. But to keep hustling and harrying, that Renault is clearly much more comfortable in these conditions.
And Graham, we also have a few Conor Keane fans in the chat, so that's always happens when you have Conor. Conor has a lot of friends, so welcome, boys. Who I don't even know half the names, because I was just quickly scroll through the chat, but I've seen a lot of things for Conor Keane, and at the minute it's a shame what happened at turn 1, and just the race has just pretty much, it hasn't been a great race for him so far. But he's only 4.5 seconds behind his teammate, and I don't know if Conor knows, but you do get a point for every position, so if he keeps going he's still going to pick up a good handful of points, so hopefully he just continues and doesn't crash out. But the gaps there's a few of them over just 1 second, and then there's just the keeper who's absolutely just up that Renault freaking gearbox, as it is now known as Alpine. Which, Graham, I must actually get your opinions on that. What do you think of the Alpine? Do you think it's a beautiful looking car?
I believe that's Alpine.
Alpine, yes.
Very pretty. A lot of the Aston Martin, very good looking cars. I think they did very well. A lot of potential to mess it up and go wrong both sides, but I think it'll be a nice car to look at next year for sure.
Yeah,
I'll miss the yellow though for sure.
Oh yeah, you definitely will. Everybody loves the old banana car. Like, just it's so good though for building helmets and all too, because we know you're a big helmet man. But
you know me.
I'm just keeping an eye on this Dobby and Beastas gap. It is coming down slowly, but it's just not coming down quick enough. So it's just showing you that I think Dobby's actually he went back to a pad from a wheel, so it's showing that pretty much a pad is going to be a lot quicker in these conditions. I know the keepers on a pad, and pretty much Alonso on a wheel is still keeping up with them, and then you have Merck. So I think this is going to be an interesting fight for the final spot in the podium.
What we really need right now is a safety car to close things right up. A few laps would be nice, because otherwise it has spread just a bit. Obviously this battle is by far the closest one on track. Scoop getting close to the other Renault. With Paco in 8th, but yeah, definitely this is the closest one. And if anything, I'd say Dobby and the keeper are closing slightly on Beast here, who's dropped a little bit of time here to Casper in this last this lap or so. Yeah,
but all Beast has to do is literally sit within 2 seconds of Kelsper, and he'll jump him due to a penalty, because Kelsper's got 5 and Beast has got 3. But Dobby,
the keeper's off.
The keeper.
The keeper lost the traction coming out of the right-hander there, and just couldn't catch it in the backdraft of that dirty air of Dobby. His car is given off, and it's kept it together, but he's lost. Well, he won't be fighting for a podium any longer.
Definitely not. But Graham, to be fair, if you're actually looking at this, Dobby's only 5.3 seconds off the lead, and with Kelsper's 5-second penalties, Dobby, he's not too far off actually winning this on penalties. If he can keep this going, he just needs to keep his head down. But to be fair, Graham, it actually doesn't look like the conditions are getting any worse, because there is a dry line. There's still a racing line there.
It's not that heavy, is it?
No,
it doesn't look like it's disappearing anytime soon, but it's not. It's not torrential for sure. That actually will help Dobby. Actually, I think now that he's kind of got the pressure off of his back, I think that will help him just kind of settle a bit, and maybe he can get further down into that into that gap. He's got 3 seconds to bridge between himself and or 3 second penalty round to bridge between himself and Beastas. If you can get in Beast's 3 second range, you can certainly get up to P2, and who knows what's possible after that.
Yeah, and Alonso has actually pulled the gap now to Dobby, and Merck is just coming as well. So these two guys are looking pretty nippy as Kelsper picks up another penalty for Kelsper. Oh, this is going to be interesting. I'd say Beastas isn't too far off either. It does indeed.
It's wide open now for everyone, basically, from Kelsper down to Alonso. Effectively, that's where we're at. Very, very interesting stuff to do. Obviously, advantage shifts back to Beastas, who now basically has 5 seconds in his pocket to play with now instead of just 2. So that's big for him.
Yeah, it is big for Beastas. I'm just watching Scuba. He is keeping that gap to back Paco, but he hasn't got the ERS to even fight. He's only got 9%, while Paco's got 76. So if Scuba does get close, I think Paco's just pretty much going to be able to defend it. But they are gaining on Dekeepa. Dekeepa, as that's had that spin, this rear tires are probably going to take a wee bit of while to actually get more grip on them. But it looks like they're starting to get a bit more grip now because he has pulling out a bit on the traction zone. So it's just hard whenever you go off track here, especially in the wet, because you just have absolutely no rear grip and it just feels like you're driving on an ice rink. But Merck has also now got this gap to under a second, so he's still there as Conor Keena picks up another penalty. And it's going to be interesting because I don't actually know how many penalties Stevie G got. I want to just check it a second. I'm in the wrong way. He's got 3 seconds. Also, I was going to say Kieran Chop might have a chance of actually coming close, but TVG's only got 3 seconds, so we'll just ignore that.
A few more Gasly to close up, though, to be fair. Obviously, we've got Dobby chased by Alonso, and Merck got Paco chased by Scuba. And Beastas is not too far away either from Casper. He's going to have to really push now. Can't be taking liberties at the front anymore. He's going to have to push. So, some battles begin to emerge as Alonso's right in the back of Dobby here.
That's the thing, but I'll be honest with you, Graham, I think I would actually like to be sitting in Dobby's position here, because Beastas, Beastas is a very, very hungry driver, and he doesn't want to win on penalties, he wants to win on track. So Beastas will push still to try and overtake Kelsper, so that might actually force him to get another penalty, while Dobby doesn't have anything. So Dobby can just keep it clean and just keep the lap times consistent, and may stay within a 6 second gap just in case Beastas does, as that is Conor Keena is off, and the return for Conor Keena is him on the wall. So it's a shame what happened, and I don't think there's going to be a safety car. I don't think there will be. No, it doesn't look like it.
Oh wow, there should be.
He's in the middle of the track.
There absolutely should be one. Rain's getting a little bit heavier here, it seems, as well.
Isn't the one?
Certainly in this last sector. Anyways, I'm just on board with the wrong sector.
Yeah, I was just watching that as well. As Scuba has actually made the move on.
Paco's off as well.
Oh yeah, so yeah, Paco's in the pits, so it looks like Paco might. It's going to be an interesting game, because this actually looks like this might actually go to wets very soon, because there's a bit of standing water in the pit lane.
I think I was looking at the track map there. I think he was put off by the car in front of him. I think he may have tried to take avoiding action or something, because it looked like that. It looked maybe not trusting the fact he might ghost or something. It wouldn't surprise me if that was the case, because it certainly looked like that on the track map. But that's obviously a small thing to go on. But Paco's run fine, completely up to that point. So who knows?
Yeah, and Scuba's now pretty much, he was putting Paco under pressure, and I think it was last night in TTML he had, I think it was Ice the Topic and B Morgan in front of him, and he says they were a pain in the ass to get past. I think Paco was pretty much going to be the same there, so I think he's glad that Paco's actually went off the track, and he's a bit of clearer now to hopefully get his foot down and try and close the gap to the keeper, which is going to be very tough, but we know Scuba's well and capable of actually doing it.
Tell you what, rain's definitely coming down hard here in sector 3. If it keeps up like this, we will see full wets. But Merck here is very much put himself in the back of this fight for the final podium spot. So you can just sit back and see how this develops. But it'd be interesting to see if, with the rain definitely intensifying, very much so.
Yeah, Scuba's in.
Just to see if anyone can get a jump on the full wets, and Scuba looks like he can be the first one to give it a go.
He is indeed. Yeah. It might be a good call, Graham, because yeah, pretty much may as well go for it, because it does look like I still think he's, well, actually, to be fair, if you actually look at Gamer Paco, there is quite standing water off the racing line, so I don't know, it could be a good call from Scuba.
You might not overtake someone, but you may be able to bring yourself closer to the fray, and that might be as big as anything else. But instantly on the ERS, Scuba is pushing. straight out the box here. I think he realized how important these laps are. And let's see who's Casper first. Now he's at to serve. If we're talking about another pit stop here, he's going to have to serve his penalty.
And he is going to go in. He is going to go in and serve it. But I'm just actually watching Dobby. Dobby must have been on the dry setup, because ever since this rain has got worse, he has dropped off a lot.
Quite a few seconds, yeah.
Yeah.
All coming in. Oh, Casper decided to go on in the end.
Oh, so did Merck. Merck done the same. It looked like Merck was going to go in, but he decided to stay out. Maybe Merck is confident in himself that he actually has. Maybe can pull out a gap. The keeper had to stay out as well because Matt came into the pits. So that's quite interesting. Casper, Merck, and the keeper all stayed out. Maybe they're just confident themselves that they can go on ahead. But Scuba is actually pulling in a lot of time on the guys in front.
Unless they think as well that the rain is going to lighten up again as well. It's just you just survive this storm, no pun intended. But just look at the keeper just going through turn one. He's just struggling he didn't even make the corner. He went well offline. So it just shows you the difficulty keeping that on the track. The gap to Scuba and Matt is relatively the same. Actually, once you remove the car that was in between them, which obviously to keep it, but see if they decide to get a second chance, basically, to come in. What's the gap? Interesting. I wonder if Casper saw. We'll find out in a sec here if he's going to pull in. He's going to commit to it this time. Is the question. A little bit over the line.
Yeah, he's going to commit
this time to it. I was wondering if he was going to stay out. Now maybe he saw Beast coming in, perhaps behind his mirrors. Merck is coming in as well. To keep it is 2 and another 5 seconds.
Casper
being to the pit lane. So one being served, one being chalked on.
Oh, he's having a dismal one, but Beastars is pretty much around the last corner anyway, so he is well and gone. Beastars is going to have this pretty much easy now due to Kelsper's penalty. But I think Dobby's going to have Kelsper as well, because Kelsper's only coming out of his box there now. He's coming up. He's going to be able to go as quick as he can. Dobby's only coming up in the turn 1, so it is going to be close. But I think Dobby should have the speed. He does. They're side by side, and I think Dobby has the traction, and Alonso was right there as well, so Kelsper's losing a lot of positions, and Matt and Merck are not too far behind either. So Kelsper, with serving this penalty, has pretty much put himself into the fire line with these guys behind.
Scuba got ahead of Takipa there in the end, so by a couple of margins.
Takipa's on hards.
Oh dear. Oh dear, that's not worked out. This has gone from bad to worse for him.
Oh, I could just see him. He's just. Well, to be fair, he's actually still keeping it on track on the hards. Oh no, I can see it. It just doesn't want to slow down.
with the anti-lock brakes as well. That's a problem.
Yeah,
there's a right old gaggle here for P3 right now, P2 even.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying with Kelsper's penalty. Kelsper has put himself right in this mix, and he has another 5 seconds to go as well. So Beastars is pretty much going to have this plain sailing as Chubbs has overtaken the keeper. And it all depends if Scuba can get the foot down. Scuba, it all depends. Like if Dobby's slow and is holding these guys up, Scuba can still pull this gap in because he is closing on them. He's probably the quickest out of from Dobby the whole way down. He's the quickest out of every single driver in front. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can actually get himself up to the back of the grid in the next 8.5 laps.
Yeah, plenty to be decided for sure. Would help for because Scuba's got no penalties at the moment to be brought into that fray. We saw how Dobby was holding up beforehand, so this should allow Beast just to go.
Yeah, it should
be a nice return for him. But very much Casper had this race close to it. It was going to be close, wasn't it? Like he was close to gapping Beast. He hadn't quite done it. So it's hard to say whether you would be able to finish that way, but certainly Casper's unfortunately played into his own hands, played into Beast's hands today.
It has indeed, and look at Matt. Matt is looking very, very quick on these wet tyres anyway. He's trying to push Alonso through. Oh, as I said, he was losing the back end just a bit. That is to keep his car coming out of the pits, so it's just going to pull off to the side in sector 1. Scuba has 4.1, so he was 3.4 at the start of the lap. He's now 4.1, so I think these guys are starting to get themselves up, starting to get a bit of heat in the tyres and starting to pump in some lap times now. Dobby's still keeping the gap to Beast. That's a 6.4, 6.5. Kelsper's keeping with Dobby, but I don't think he's going to be able to do anything. Kelsper, we know, likes to save ERS at the front. He's going to have to burn it now if he wants to overtake Dobby and start to pull out a bit of a gap, which is going to be very hard to do in the wet conditions. And Alonso is getting the better of his teammate this evening in Scuba. and Matt is the leading Mercedes.
Yeah, although to be fair, lots of big moment there. To be fair to Scuba, he was obviously hit from the rear to put himself basically behind all of this. He should really be in front of all this. He should really be where Casper and ahead of Alonso here, to be fair. So unfortunately out of his control. Tell you what, Matt. It's a penalty. Matt might get away here. It's so heavy rain out there. It's very difficult to see, but for Matt's strategy error, he might get himself a reward. I tell you what, Alonso is a reward of Alonso had a bit of a wiggle coming out of turn number 8 there, put Matt in that position, almost into the back of him, but Matt might get a decent reprieve for his error earlier on with a top 5 finish at this race. I think he would have taken that after things broke down the way it did, and that will only help Scuba as well with a marking for another penalty. But I'd say Alonso is beginning to struggle a little bit in these conditions. It seems the heavier it's gone, he's looked a little bit out of control of his car at times. It's wrestling to keep it, and I wonder if a mistake might prove costly later on.
Yeah, it might indeed, and you never know. Matt's still actually not out of the question of getting the podium here. If he can pass Alonso, he will get past Kelsper due to a penalty, so Matt can still salvage the error, as you said, and he mightn't lose as much points to Beastas in the championship. But if he finishes P4, then Beastas wins. Beastas also got pole position as well, so the gap's good. Beastas is going to gain maybe about 7 or 8 points in them, and the gap's 21 between the two of them, so at least Beastas is closing that gap by quite a bit. But if Matt can get himself into P3, it will cut that down just a wee tiny bit, so Matt needs to get himself as high as possible, and at the minute he's got Alonso in front of him, which he is being very squiggly all over the back end, but in the wet conditions, especially around Austria, it's very hard to make an overtake. And as I say, Matt also lost the back end too, but Alonso nearly went into the wall into the pit straight.
Yeah, like everyone's pushing really hard, just because there's a podium right there in front of them. If they can hold on, or if they can make an overtake, it's up to grab for sure. I'll tell you what, Casper hasn't really closed in much on Dobby. Dobby seems to have stabilised somewhat here. Big back end loss there coming out of turn 3 for Dobby. He's going to lose him a few tenths, but generally speaking, Dobby's stabilised somewhat here until that moment, so he's looking good. To be fair to him, Casper, he thought maybe he might be able to get a bit closer to him at this stage, given that he's got to put as much distance as he can between himself and the gaggle of cars behind him. Yeah,
and like Matt's still keeping there. I was making a noise there because Merck nearly drove straight into the back of Matt up on the turn 3. He was so close to losing his front wing, and that actually, to be fair, Graham, Scuba is pulling this gap in.
He is. I was just going to say he's under 3 seconds.
And Kieran Chop is retired as well.
That's a safety car.
That's
lost coming out of the last corner.
I think he did, because his car is on the pit straight, so this is going to spice it up. Nobody's going to pit. You'd be foolish to. You can see Kieran Chop's car is completely gone. Yeah. Nobody's going to pit because there's pretty much no. Well, you could pit if you wanted to.
Or Jono, you might consider it.
If you're Chubbs, you'll consider it, because he's got that big of a gap to Jono, but he hasn't. Jono could pit, and so could Paco if they really wanted to, but just don't know.
Sure,
but
what happens? That's another drive-through. Stevie G is getting all sorts of drive-throughs here. Going to be I'm not sure what happened to Dobby there. He's lost a fair amount of time. Lost about 2 seconds or so. He almost came to a complete stop. So I mean, maybe been close to running the Delta, as Stevie G has done.
But sure, it's just like Kelsper. Kelsper was over 5 seconds behind there. I think they're just slowing down for the Delta. It's going to be a 3-lap sprint here.
It's going to be a quick safety car. So, like, as any case with the safety car coming toward the end of the race, usually it does be a quick affair. So even pitting, you run the risk perhaps of not being able to catch up to the pack, especially in these wet conditions as well. Before safety car comes back in, though they haven't even picked it up yet. So they have to get there first.
They have to get there first, is right. And Scuba, despite being hit from Dekeepa, is going to find himself in a very strong position here, because with the penalties in front, if he can keep it close behind the safety car, he's going to jump up at least 3 or 4 positions and could actually see himself getting maybe P4, P5 here.
That's a massive blow for Beast, by the way. He was in complete control of this race.
I know, Dobby has now got that gap in because Beast has a 3-second penalty.
Yeah, very much so. Now Beast has called the safety car, so we'll see if it peels at the end of this lap. You never know. You never know if Beast could pull out. If you've got 3 laps, it'd be tough. He'd need to come in the end of this lap for sure. But if you got the restart correct, that'd be a second right there in itself.
Yeah, it would be. But sure, Jono's in the pits and Paco's only coming around the first corner. So if the game does what it's going to do, picking them 2 boys up, you mightn't see a safety car. You might see the safety car coming into the start of lap 35.
Possibly. Well, when it comes to the late of the race, sometimes it does be out for just a lap, maybe just 2. So sometimes that exception to the rule isn't the case in the late race here. We'll see if it happens here. Looks like it's going to stay for another lap at least. If it was 1 lap later, I guarantee it would have been a 1 lap safety car. I was racing in the race yesterday, and it was out for it was about 3 laps from the end, and it stayed out for just 1 lap. So even though the other people hadn't caught up to the back of it, so they should be able to. Oh, Jono's quite far behind. Jono might not catch that. Paco should, but 1 more lap at least. It'll be a 2-lap sprint. That's a rough one for Beastas. He needed that car to come in.
It definitely is, and the keeper was saying that he loves this game. The reason they hit Scuba was because apparently Scuba ghosted in front of him, but the game still decided that the keeper hit him and spun Scuba, apparently. And Calper says the game gave him 2 bullshit 5-second penalties, so that's just apparently Codemaster's fault.
Wouldn't surprise me. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen before, but sadly he's had to serve one of them.
He is. I think Paco's going to catch this, but Jono's going to be touch and go.
He's going to have to hope the fact that Beastas backs him up big time. Jono should be able to. By the time Beastas backs everyone up, should be able to get him onto the back of that. But he's going to have to be basically full racing now, basically. Very close to the safety car there came Beast. Everyone's well behaved under it, at least. No contact, no penalties flying around.
That's in.
And he's in this lap.
Jono's going to be touch and go to catch this.
I think he'd be okay. Beast is backing up now in 5th gear, 40 miles an hour, so he's going to be. He's very important for him to nail this. He needs every bit of time he can find, because even if he doesn't win this race, he's still got a good chance to finish on the podium, so long as he bridges 3 seconds. Then this will help in the wet. But John's going to be very close because Beast hasn't gone yet, and John should just about catch up.
He's gone. Beast is gone
now.
He's left Dobby Noppin.
By the time the Constantine effect gets, Jono is just on the back of this, so Jono just about caught up there. But a good restart from Beast. That's his 2nd clear already. It's exactly what he needed to do.
Yeah, he's pretty much nailed that restart. Oh, who was that? That was Kelsper completely get a massive wiggle on, and that's going to allow Alonso. Is Alonso going to go around the outside turn 1? This is going to be for the final pot of podium on track anyway. Alonso goes wide, gets a fantastic launch out of the corner. Kelsper gets a narrow, acute angle. He's had to switch, which has compromised a bit of speed, and that's in the background. Merckx dropped it. That was so unfortunate because he was performing so well. Alonso's not going to tread up inside. He didn't even lock the brakes as well, despite being on no ABS. That's good from Alonso.
Yeah, he's done that.
I don't know how he slowed that down, but Scuba is right behind Matt as well, so Matt was looking quicker of the 2 of these guys, and now Scuba is pretty much all over the back of him. But it's going to be interesting to see. Kelsper's going to drop down quite a lot. At the moment it looks like Scuba's going to get P5 and Matt's going to get P4, and Alonso's going to get the final spot in the podium. Dobby can't do anything about Beastas. He's gone.
It's already 2 seconds. This must be this must be horrible. Horrible for Dobby. He just had to. All he had to do was just keep within a second of that restart, and he had a great chance. Now it's not over yet, but if this lap is anything to go by, then you'd imagine Beast is going to get the gap he needs. But anything is you can't bet on anything for sure. Still in that second, actually gained a bit of time in sector 3 there. So last lap, Beastas needs a second to get this done.
Beastas has 59% ERS, Dobby's got 70. If I was Dobby, just blow every single bit of ERS you can this lap. It's 2 seconds. At the minute, he is looking pretty nailed on to come back to TMC and actually win his first race back, which would be an absolutely fantastic showing. But Kelsper, unfortunate penalties, because I pretty much think he would have been probably winning this race despite the penalties, but it's a bit unfortunate. Matt and Alonso have drove fantastically well. Scuba, with that incident with the keeper, he still made a fantastic recovery drive, but the gap between Dobby and Beastas is now 2.3. Incident in the back, that's Jono has spun, so the two race of points have had pretty much a dismal night. We've only got 8 finishers for an Austria race, which is bonkers beyond me. I don't know how we've only 8 finishers, but we are coming around to the last couple of corners. The gap is 2.6, so at the minute it looks like Dobby is going to do it. It's so close. It's 2.8. Beastas has to just eke out everything. Dobby's just trying to use as much as he can here now into the last couple of corners. Beastas runs wide. Beastas comes around the last corner. Is he going to win it on track? Oh, he's ran wide. He's run out of every single bit of ERS at the minute. He has the gap, but Dobby's back in it. Is Dobby going to win it? Dobby takes it by 0.3 of a second. Kelsper will take P6. So Dobby has done it just by the skin of his teeth as well.
It was a scruffy last 2 corners for Beast. I think that may have cost him. He had the gap. He had 3 seconds on him, and just a bit messy heading out of the last 2 corners. I'd say spent everything he had in terms of warnings, but wasn't enough, sadly for him.
It wasn't enough, and Dobby on the return has picked up the win, showing that he has not lost any bit of speed since he's left. So it's a fantastic showing from Dobby. It was a bit handed to him a wee bit, I must say, because of the penalties, but sure, he drove fantastically well to not actually get a penalty here. And Beastas takes second place. He drove fantastically well. Him and Kelsper was pretty much going to be the two of them, but penalties unfortunately cost him. Alonso, fantastic drive again, P8 into P3. Matt, despite having his bit of a strategic error maybe on his behalf, he manages to get a good recovery drive into P4. Scuba, with that incident, as I said before, into P5, so it's good for the McLaren boys. Good strong points in the constructors, as AlphaTauri and Mercedes didn't really score that much points, so it brings McLaren right back in it in the constructors. Gamer Paco from 18th to 6th, fantastic drive from him. He did win drive of the day, and to be fair, no penalties as well. You can't really argue with the game for that. Into P6, Kelsper dropped the whole way down to P7, and then you had Chubbs as the final finisher at P8.
Yeah, there you go. Unfortunate for Beastas, he had that race in his pocket basically until that safety car came in. But that's what part of it is. You have to be. Sometimes you just get the break, and Dobby got that and did well not to get any penalties. He put yourself in contention should anything like that happen late race, and you put all the pieces in place to benefit from late safety car, and came out with the top prize at the end of the day.
He came out with the top prize at the end of the day. This race was a week late, but Graham, it was well worth it, wasn't it?
It was good. It was a good race, even with the rain coming into things there under halfway gone.
Yeah, and there was quite a few penalties tonight, but the next Grand Prix is going to be a penalty fest Grand Prix. It is going to be the Russian Grand Prix, so that's going to be an absolute fantastic one for the drivers, because track limits around there, as everybody knows, you just literally hit the curb and bang, you get an ETL, so it's going to be interesting to see. But Dobby, as I said before, his return, fantastic to get a win. I think he'd be over the moon. He literally only joined earlier on today, because I just messaged him earlier on that he won a race, and he says, aye, sure, why not, and he's come in and pretty much won the race, so fantastic from him. Good bit of speed. Hopefully he can carry it on to next week. And Graham, that's pretty much going to be it from me. Would you like any final words?
I have nothing to add. It was a good race. I have no last words.
No last words, so that's pretty much going to be it then from me and Graham. Thank you again, Graham, for joining me, because I know sometimes you're a busy man, and I do appreciate it sometimes you coming on a Friday evening to keep me a bit of company, because you know yourself, it's very hard to talk by yourself, you know.
Oh, I know.
So I do appreciate it. But yeah, the next Grand Prix is going to be the Russian Grand Prix. Matt Tybos has lost a wee bit out in the championship, but he still leads, and Scuba is still in third, and Beastas is still in second, so it's still a good title fight between them three. Kelsper was going to be in there if he had won the race, but unfortunately penalties cost out. But that's going to be it from me and Graham. It's going to be Russia next week, same time. Hopefully they're all there, so we'll see you all later.